Welcome back. The Edo State Governor, Senator Monday Okpebholo, has accused the chairman of the 18 local governments of Edo State of remitting over 12 billion naira to leaders of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, within 15 months under questionable circumstances. The governor made the allegations on January 7, 2025, during a meeting with acting chairmen and councillors at the Government House in Benin City. Governor Okpebholo explained that upon reviewing financial records upon taking office, he discovered irregular spending, particularly a suspicious allocation labeled environmental security funding amounting to 800 million naira each month. He revealed that these funds were reportedly being diverted to party leaders. Multiple attempts to secure financial records from the suspended chairman were unsuccessful, prompting him to refer the matter to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and the Edo State House of Assembly, EDHA. The governor condemned the alleged financial mismanagement, noting its negative impact on essential services, particularly in education, where schools are understaffed. He emphasized that public funds intended for development should not be used for personal gain. Governor Okpebholo praised the acting chairman and councillors for their commitment to transparency and pledged his administration's support for local government reforms. The allegations have sparked significant concern across the state, with citizens and officials awaiting further investigations by the EFCC and State Assembly into the claims of financial misconduct. Our guest this morning is Barrister Elvis, a legal practitioner. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me again in the program.
Okay. So a little background. Governor Okpebholo suspended the 18 local government chairmen, and there was an outcry because, especially now that we're talking about autonomy of local governments and all that, and after suspending them, he now came up with the fact, I'm quoting and unquoting, that the chairmen have been spending so much money, and this money has been going to PDP chieftains instead of developing the state, and that is to justify what he has done. And then he has placed caretaker chairmen on the saddle, who eventually will be loyalists to the party because others are of a different party and all that. So I don't know. I'd like you to comment on his accusation in the light of the fact that, anyway, just comment on the accusation. Let me not put words into your mouth.
Well, I think the first thing that must be said is that the accusations, I mean, it's not surprising to me. We all know that local government funds, became, a reserve for governors to use for their political activity. And that is why across the country, you see that there is no sign of any development at the grassroots level. The local government councils that we have across the country have completely abandoned their responsibilities as set out in the Constitution, simply because the arm of government was politicized and pocketed by the governors. And that was what informed the decision of the Supreme Court in July of 2024, which, for all intents and purposes, decided that local government councils should have autonomy and that the governors should not have any powers to, determine the leadership of the local government councils. Now, what Okpebholo is saying essentially is, like I said, not really new, but what is important is that, there's a process in every sane society, in every democratic society, in every civilized society. There's a process, that must be embarked upon if you have allegations of this nature. And that process, it's called rule of law. You have to follow the rule of law. And, if you don't follow the rule of law, whatever you are saying simply becomes mere political talk. In the last few days and weeks, we have seen all sorts of, undemocratic tendencies from the government with respect to the government council. We've seen a purported suspension that has no bearing on the legal firmaments of this country. We have seen, horse whips being used by non-state actors to chase out local government councils. And then you don't come up with this. And in order to justify all of that, that cannot justify, whatever it is that you have done. He said that he had reported to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. That's the least. That's the much you can do, because you don't have control over the funds of the government currently. You cannot dictate the government chairman how they will spend their money. You can't even ask for accounts from the government councils. But if you suspect that the funds of the local government has not been used or is not being used for the purpose of which it is meant, then you can, like any other citizen of this country, report to the appropriate security agencies. The local government council chairmen have no immunity. So they can be investigated, they can be charged, they can be prosecuted, and then under the appropriate law, they can also be removed in accordance with the appropriate law, and not in this manner, not in this undemocratic manner. So in summary, what the figures that the governor has dished out does not justify the undemocratic actions that has taken place in the last couple of weeks in the state. It does not justify the violence, the sheer, crudity with which the governor has gone about trying to emasculate and take over the control of local councils in the state.
Yeah, but I was just wondering in the first place, where did they get that money? Because he was talking about a very large sum of money, which in Nigeria today, okay, before the pronouncement of the autonomy of local government councils, I'm not sure local governments were getting that much money. The state government was just more or less paying the salaries of chairmen and then leaving it at that. In the experience I've had with local government administration in the places I've had contact with, they don't make that much money. But that's story for another day. Now, is there something?
It wasn't that they weren't making that much money. What was happening was that once the money comes, the governor dictates how the money is spent. So they can spend this money for this purpose and claim that it is the local government that has spent the money. So it is not surprising that these figures can come out, but it wasn't really I'm sure it wasn't the government chairmen themselves that expertly spent these funds. It was the governor or the governors across the country that were in control of the funds of the government with their critical committees or whatever committees. That was what necessitated the decision of the Supreme Court. So it's not that they were not getting money; they were getting money. But the money was being siphoned, was being, pocketed. And I have to use that word. It was being pocketed by the governors, and usually for political purposes. That was it.
Anyway, but now, where is the loophole in the law or policy of autonomy of local government that these governors are exploiting this way, especially this thing that has happened in Edo State? If it happens like this, or the way it has happened, if it goes without a fight, if it goes the way of the governor, because unconstitutionally he has placed some chairmen who are loyal to him, who will see to the finances and all the things about local government, which is at this moment not constitutional. If it goes his way, it means that a lot more of these governors are going to copy that. And especially in light of the fact that the president even said a few days ago that state governors still have control over their local governments. He's not saying that they're totally autonomous. At least that's just a paraphrase of what he said. It seems to have given more impetus, more confidence to the governors that they can do and undo, in spite of the fact that the pronouncement has been made that local governments are autonomous. So what is the loophole that they're exploiting, and what can be done about it? Because if they have no right in local government, they should not have right.
The truth of the matter is that there is no legal loophole. Whatever loophole that we had at the time has been, creatively corrected by the Supreme Court in that decision of July of 2024. What we have is political brigands. We have, political animals who are all out to do whatever they need to do for their political and selfish interests without regards to the rule of law. That's what is playing out. The problem is not the law. You see, as much as we can always, develop the law, amend the laws to reflect, changing circumstances and all of that, this is not the problem in Nigeria. The problem in Nigeria is that, personal interest, political agendas have taken over the center stage and have relegated the rule of law to the backstage. And that is why we are where we are on these issues. What we are seeing now is that the governors want to come up with different strategies to defeat the essence of the Supreme Court decision. So what is playing out? The comment by the president to the governors, again, is political. I'm sure the man wants a re-election in 2027, and so he will want to try to appeal to the governors. So the problem is not the law. The problem, essentially, like I said, is politics. Politics of introgression, politics of corruption, politics of self-interest as against the interest of the people. That is what is playing out. It is not a question of whether or not the laws are there. If you look at Section 7 of the Constitution, it's very clear. That law, Section 7 of the Constitution, does not empower the governors to control the funds of local government. It does not empower the governors to control, the local government chairman. What it says is that the House of Assembly will make a law that will ensure the existence of a democratically elected local government council. What that simply means is that you see that under the Constitution, there's no provision under the Constitution that talks about how elections are held at local government level. So that is what the Constitution has empowered the House of Assembly to do. There is no provision under the Constitution that says that once the councils are elected, they are not subject to the whims and caprices of whoever is the governor at the time. And that is it. Look at the relationship between the federal government and the states. The federal government, controls INEC, appoints INEC a chairman and other officers, and funds INEC. And INEC now conducts elections for the states. Are you now saying that simply because the Constitution empowers the federal government to do that, that also extends to the powers to control the funding and the way and manner the states spend their money? It's a capital law. So, the states are dishing out what they want to, get from the federal government to local government, and what we have had in the past, and that has kept us in a situation where the whole essence of bringing governance to the grassroots has been defeated. This is not about law. This is about wickedness of the governors. This is the high-handedness of the governors. This is about the personal interest of the governments. What they have done in the past is that they just pocket the funds of local governments and use it for politics. They use it anyhow they want. When the funds hit the joint account before 2024, they just determine, okay, the local governments will contribute XYZ for environmental security, which is what the governor is talking about now, and then those funds are moved from the relevant account for that purpose. And then the government does whatever it wants to do with it. And in some cases, in most cases where the technical committees were appointed, even in those states and other states, whoever is there is just at the mercy of the governor. So the governor dictates. Like you said, the governor says, okay, pay SY salaries and then take a few change for yourself, and that is it. And so, and what we will now have is that there is no semblance, there is no modicum of governance at the grassroots level. And so, again, I would reiterate that the problem is not the law. The problem is sheer wickedness. The problem is sheer arrogance. The problem is, it's just about the emasculation of the local government system by the governors across the country.
Problem is brigandry. Okay, what are the options left for the local government chairmen that have been suspended? Do they have a case?
Well, first, let me quickly say that the suspension is clearly illegal, unconstitutional. It has no basis in any law. It doesn't even follow the local government law that that applies in Edo State. So that suspension in itself, it has no place in the law, and I'm sure even the court has declared that, the court has made that declaration. So there is, as far in the eyes of the law today, there is no suspension of any government chairman. What we now have is the purported impeachment of some of the council chairmen, and again, that is also another gross violation. You will be shocked to find out that under local government law, the procedure for impeaching a chairman by councillors it's a very lengthy provision. For example, you have to constitute a committee that will carry out an investigation to see whether or not they have flouted, the relevant the laws. And then after the committee is done with its report, it's subject to the councillor, and then they make a two-third majority will decide on it. After that, they make a resolution. That resolution will be passed to the House of Assembly, more or less for ratification to see whether or not they will ratify it. All of that was not done in this particular case. What we saw was a few people, 2 or 3 alleged councillors, impeaching the chairman and then taking over as acting chairman. In fact, in one particular case, the people who claimed to have had a meeting of councillors were not even councillors in that local government or anywhere in the state. So, the chairmen, they are on the side of the law, but unfortunately, you know that these things take a while before you can get decisions from the court. And so, effectively, even though the process and all of the things that have been done are constitutional, at the end of the day, it might prevent them from acting as such, until they declare it so by the courts. And that's one of the problems we have in the country. The problem, that's why politicians will still go to court, because they know that when you go to court, it takes a while. Before you come back from court, your tenure under the law would have expired, and so you cannot even come back. Perhaps you can get the benefit of what you should have gotten as salaries and other perquisites of office. Or you can't come back to fully run the affairs of local government council after the expiration of your tenure. And that's the challenge we have with the Nigerian system.
Well, I hope we can surmount that soon so that justice will be done in every case that we find ourselves. It's a very unfortunate thing that the governor has done this, even though it's against the law, and it seems as if every quarter is silent about it. Even this federal government that made it possible for us to have this autonomy, it seems to be silent about it, and frivolous reasons for doing what he has done have been given, and it still seems to be silent. But we'll keep talking and talking until the right things are done, no matter how slow or how long it takes. And we thank you, Barrister Elvis, for being a part of the voice that speaks for the people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. We'll be talking with Barrister Elvis Asia, a legal practitioner who was helping us x-ray what has been happening in Edo State, where chairmen have been suspended and some other illegal entities have been put on the seat of power to administer the local government because of what the governor is saying had been malpractice, if you permit the word, on the part of the chairman. Well, it's a continuing story. We'll see what can be done by the people who have a louder voice than maybe even the one we have here on our station. But this is also where we draw the curtain on the program this morning. We'd like to thank you for being a part of it, and we're hoping that you'll reconnect with us tomorrow for another edition of The Breakfast. Until then, on behalf of the crew, my name is Nyamgul Agaji. Thank you for being there.